Victoria's lockdown has been extended. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at a statement from Premier Daniel Andrews regarding the lockdown extension in Victoria. And then we'll have a look at, what their roadmap out of this lockdown is and the federal government's response. So this was released yesterday on Father's Day, and we'll just skip over the waffle where he humanises the position. So when Melbourne was in stage 3 restrictions, it was taking an average of 49 days to cut our number of cases in half. In stage 4, we're doing it in just 18. It'd be interesting to see if they actually did an economic impact analysis. What's the cost-benefit analysis of this? I doubt any of that's ever been done, or people don't even want to discuss it. They don't even want to discuss it these days. At the same time, the expert modelling, it's always expert modelling, isn't it? Experts can be wrong too. Tells us that even with that enormous effort, we're likely to be averaging around 60 cases a day by next week. For reference, last time we eased restrictions, we were averaging around 10 a day. I'm going to do a video later today looking at Sweden and some of the progress that they have made with their strategy because they're outliers. It'll be interesting just to compare. It really will be. I mean, we won't be able to see which method was the best until, historically. If we go too far, too soon, the modelling also tells us we'll be on track for a third wave by mid-November. That'd mean we're back to where we are now, maybe even worse. Days, weeks, months of sacrifice gone. Confidence for businesses destroyed. More families suffering, more lives lost. It's why, even as we release a roadmap for reopening, it's got to be done safe, steadily, and sustainable. Now, I suspect most people I've been talking to in Victoria, they just want this done and over with. Trying to get at least back to some level of normalcy, which is completely understandable. I mean, business confidence, how is that ever going to even return? Currently, Melbourne is in stage 4 restrictions. From 11:59 on the 13th of September, we'll take our first step towards COVID normal. Regional Victoria, currently in stage 3 restrictions, will be able to jump to the second stage of reopening. By moving from stages to steps, we're giving Victorians a long-term plan for our path out of restrictions and into COVID normal. Importantly, we want the whole of the state to be COVID normal by the end of the year, making sure family barbecues, summer holidays, and a trip to the beach can all still happen. These steps will be guided by dates and the data. That means if we're on track to take a step forward, we can do so confidently. With clear and articulated case targets, we're creating trigger points for review for our public health team and giving Victorians even more insight into how we're tracking. The first step will mean modest changes, small improvements we can make to make our life a bit easier without giving away any of Victoria's hard-won gains. These include the creation of a bubble for people living alone and single parents. This will allow more isolated Victorians to nominate one other person to help them through this, a friend or family member that can visit them in their home. I mean, this is probably this is the most terrifying aspect of this for me. I'm in a household of 9 people, everyone. We don't have any isolation here, but that's just the fortuitous situation we found ourselves in. But if you're living alone, I think back to my earlier days as a bachelor living by myself. You know, after a while, you kind of want human interaction, particularly if you're a gregarious, outgoing person. Even people who are introverts, they will occasionally want other human interaction. So weeks on end of just being isolated at home. It's a scary prospect. I understand that isolation is a real issue for many. But I'd ask, because remember, humans are social creatures, even the antisocial ones. But I'd ask people only add someone to their bubble if they need to. After all, the more people you see, the more chance there is of coming into contact with someone who has the virus, putting us back on a path to lockdown. There's a threat there. Exercise will also be expanded. Under the first step, it will also be lengthened to 2 hours every day. This could be 2-hour block or split into 2 one-hour blocks. You can continue exercising with one person outside your household or those you live with. We'll also expand this to include social interaction. These are activities that don't require the reopening of a workplace or recreation facility. Things like sharing a picnic in your local park or reading a book at your local bench. And for parents, just as much as kids, the reopening of playgrounds. Firstly, I mean, could you imagine these simple everyday things that have been taken away and restricted from Victorians? Could you have imagined this even a year ago, 2 years ago, if someone had have said that? That'd be the nutter on the street corner holding up a placard. Finally, recognizing we're slowly getting to warm weather, curfews will also move back an hour to 9 p.m. Wow, kids, your curfew's back to 9 p.m. Wow. As I said, these are small, sustainable forward steps we can take to make life just a little bit easier ahead of the 28th of September, and we're on track with our case numbers. Our public health team will review our progress and ensure we can confidently move metropolitan Melbourne to the second step. So notice they're changing from stages to steps. Steps towards the bridge. What was it, a bridge? Feels like we're on a Titanic. Under the second step in metropolitan Melbourne, we'll get more people back to work. Some 100,000 workers across construction, manufacturing, and landscape gardening and maintenance work who operate alone. Childcare will also open without permits, making life a little less stressful for parents working from home. I mean, if you're working from home, why do you need to put your kids in childcare? I don't understand, but I guess. I know for a lot of businesses, they'll want to know what comes next for them too, and certainly to plan for the future. And while the current arrangements will remain in place until the 28th of September, we'll continue meeting with you and listening to you to make sure you have that certainty going forward. For regional Victoria, the second step will mean some changes too. From 11:59 on the 13th of September, people living alone and single parents will be able to have a bubble. Up to 5 people will be able to gather together in outdoor public places, and the park, the beach, up to a maximum of 2 households. By limiting it to 2 households, we again limit the virus's ability to spread. Outdoor pools and playgrounds in regional Victoria will also open, and religious services can be conducted outside with a maximum of 5 people plus a faith leader. For schools and students, we'll begin a staged return to on-site learning from Term 4. All VCA and VCAL students in Melbourne and regional Victoria will attend on-site for the General Achievement Test and other essential assessments from the 5th of October. In regional Victoria, all students will return to on-site learning between the 12th and 16th, and in Melbourne, VCE and VCAL students from Prep to Grade 2 will return on-site for learning from the 12th of October. That's a lot to take in. Many of those questions will be answered on their website, and if they're not, we'll work towards answering them in coming days. I understand there'll be some people who will be disappointed, those who wanted more sooner. But these are the steady and sustainable steps that our health experts tell us will see us out of this safely. This roadmap is about making sure we stay one step ahead of the virus and making sure we don't have to take another step backwards. I say it often, we all want this to be over, and we all really do, but for this to be over, we each have to find it in ourselves to just keep going a little bit longer. We all come too far, given too much to see it wasted. By not seeing our dads today, okay, he's talking about that, you can see them on Christmas Day. So let's have a look at, we'll jump over here to the website that they've got here, and I'll link to that in the pinned comments. So this is for Melbourne, I thought we'd look at, this is the first step. So key points, curfew in place from 9 to 5, fantastic. You still have to stay within 5 kilometres of your home, except for permitted responses or reasons such as work or education. If these can't be done at home, exercise 2 people or a household can meet outdoors for 2 hours now. Visitors, single person bubble, childcare, shopping for essentials, 1 person per household once a day. Once a day, comrade. Restaurant and cafes open for takeaway and delivery only. How are these restaurants going? How many of them are going to be destroyed and never come back? Second step. So, after the 28th of September, so when they reach an average of daily cases in Metro Melbourne of 30 to 50 cases over a 14-day period with public health advice regarding transmission sources. So, key points. Curfew from 9 p.m. to 5 p.m. Can only leave home for 4 reasons: school or work. They can't be done at home. Care or caregiving, to purchase essentials and exercise. Public gatherings up to 5 people for a maximum of 2 households. Childcare will be open. Schools will be staged. Outdoor exercise and restaurants will be takeaway. Third step, after the 26th of October. They want daily average cases to be, in the last 14 days, to be less than 5 statewide. 5 statewide, everyone. The time period must pass and the number of cases must be low enough to move to the next stage. No restrictions on leaving home. No restrictions on leaving home. Spending time with others where possible. Public gatherings of up to 10 people. Visitors allowed at home from 1 other household up to 5 people. Schools will see potential stage for return on-site learning. Hospitality open for predominantly outdoor seating services. All retail open except personal care. Hairdressers open. And the last step, from the 23rd of November, no restrictions. There are no new cases for 14 days. So when they have no cases for 2 weeks, this is the last step. No restrictions on leaving home. Public gatherings of up to 50 people outdoors. Visitors in home of up to 20 people at a time. Schools open for on-site learning with safety measures. Hospitality open for seated service only. All retail open with safety measures. Phased return of organised contact sports resumed for all ages. Limitations for spectators. Galleries, museums and other entertainment venues open. And then COVID normal. So when are we going to get normal? When there are no new cases for 28 days and no active cases statewide and no outbreaks of concern in other states and territories. So that's pretty much elimination. I thought the whole idea of this was just to flatten the curve. Has that disappeared, everyone? Seems to have, hasn't it? Oh, wait, no, wait. They are flattening a curve. They are the GDP curve. So, no restrictions on leaving home, no restrictions on public gatherings, but organisers are encouraged to keep records of attendees. No restrictions on visitors at home. Schools open for on-site learning. Hospitality and retail all open. No limits on weddings or funerals, but organisers encouraged to keep records. No restrictions on community sports or spectators. Galleries, museums and other entertainment venues open with safety measures and record keeping. So that's the path for Melbourne. And, I mean, regional is going to be slightly, one step ahead, really. So let's have a look at the federal government's response. This is from Josh Frydenberg and Scott Morrison. So today's announcement from the Victorian government to extend lockdown arrangements will be hard and crushing news for the people of Victoria, and a further reminder of the impact and costs that result from not being able to contain the outbreaks of the pandemic, resulting in high rates of community transmission. It is vital to the national interest to restore Victoria to a COVID-safe environment where we can reopen our economy and reasonably restore the liberties of all Australians, whether in Victoria or anywhere else. The proposed roadmap will come at a further economic cost. While this needs to be weighed up against mitigating the risks of further community outbreaks, it is also true that the continued restrictions will have further impact on the Victorian and national economy, in further job losses and loss of livelihoods, as well as impacting on mental health. I mean, some of the mental health stories that you're hearing that are going around, it's just heartbreaking. Of course, the federal government would like to see restrictions in Victoria lifted as soon as it is safe to do so, but at the end of the day, these are decisions solely for the Victorian government to determine, and the roadmap released today is a Victorian government plan. The Commonwealth Government will now consider the Victorian modelling and settings that are being provided to our experts and officials, including our Chief Medical Officer, and await their advice before responding further. Now that we've been advised of the plan and it has been released, we will also seek feedback from Victorian businesses and industry stakeholders to understand their concerns and seek to ensure they are addressed. As Professor Tony Blakely, one of the lead Victorian modellers, has suggested, of critical importance is that Victoria's contact tracing is strengthened to the highest possible level. In New South Wales, this has enabled the Berejiklian government to respond to multiple outbreaks while permitting businesses and people to carry on their daily lives in a COVID-safe way. This is the way forward. Restrictions are not substitutes for strengthening health systems to cope with the virus. That is the essential message there. I thought that was the entire plan. Let me know in the comments. Is that still the plan? It seems to have disappeared, especially when community outbreak is brought under control. the most effective means of reducing community transmission must be an effective testing, tracing, and quarantine system, bolstered by enhanced local health capacity and physical distancing. These are essential prerequisites to reduce the spread, save lives, and manage the economic and job impact. Throughout the global COVID-19 pandemic, the federal government has taken action to support the lives and livelihoods of all Australians. We will continue to support Victorians and the businesses that employ them as they deal with the impact of the state's second wave by safeguarding the health and mental health of Victorians and protect and save their jobs and livelihoods wherever possible. So there we have the response from the federal government. So what do you all think, everyone? What do you think? Do you think it'll work? Do you think people will accept it? You're just hoping that all these Victorians just want this to be over. What do you think about the plans? Does it feel like eradication or flattening the curve? As always, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, have a great day, I'll see you next time.